Hi, everybody. Today's presentation is the British Crown is the Vatican. And so let's get going. Oh, by the way, look at my new website. I recommend you check it out. Anyways, it's down at the bottom there on this slide. This is taken from Yale Law School, the Avalon Project. This is British American, the Paris Treaty of September 30th, 1783. And the important part I want to talk about is the highlighted portion there. And it says that having pleased the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent Prince George III, by the grace of God, the King of Britain, France, and Ireland, and defender of the faith, and all of that, arch-treasurer and prince-elector of the Holy Roman Empire and of the United States of America. Now, this kind of stuff you don't see in every treaty. The reason it's there is because it's relevant. It is the reason that's his authority to do this treaty. And so this treaty is concluded between the Crown of Great Britain and the said United States. And so the Crown, he's operating as the arch-treasurer and prince-elector of the Holy Roman Empire. And so the Crown is the Vatican. And that's essentially what he's saying here. That's exactly what he's saying. A couple of the things that they point that are in this treaty, it's agreed that the creditors on either side shall meet no lawful impediment to the recovery of the full value in sterling money of all bona fide debts heretofore contracted, and there shall be a firm and perpetual peace. Well, Article 7 is a bunch of garbage because they had no intention of doing peace. They just wanted to regroup so they could come back around. And Article 4 is setting up the first bankruptcy, is what it's doing. So the King George the Tyrant was King of France and England. He financed both sides of the War of Independence. The United States owed France 18 million livres from the war. Arch-treasurer and prince-elector of the Holy Roman Empire and of the United States of America. And Queen Elizabeth is now the arch-treasurer and prince-elector of the Holy Roman Empire and of the United States of America. The reason that terminology is in this treaty is because it's relevant. It's showing his authority to make the treaty. It's proof that he perjured his oath and breached the trust. It's proof that he's operating in his private capacity, and also who acts in violation of the Constitution ceases to represent the government. So he was operating in his private capacity. He perjured his oath. That's exactly what it is. And Queen Elizabeth, that bitch, no disrespect to dogs intended, it's proof that she's perjured her oath too, because there's all sorts of stuff going on with that bitch. But when this is taken from the Declaration of Independence. This is in the preamble. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under utter despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government. And that's Declaration of Independence. And some of the issues that were brought up, Declaration of Independence is really just a list of grievances, okay, if you think about it. And so these are some of the grievances. He's affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power, martial law, okay, and that's exactly what's going on today. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, martial law, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, color of law, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of a trial by jury. Well, that's a show trial. That's a kangaroo court. That's all of these courts are nowadays. They're all show trials. They're all kangaroo courts. They're all for their slaves. They're all coming from the UN. For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government. Arbitrary government, people, that's talking about martial law, military dictatorship, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war on us. That's exactly what they're doing today. This so-called war on terror is really a war on the American people. For protecting them by a mock trial, show trial, which is a show trial in a kangaroo court. You know, I recently went to a free viewing of a movie called Revelation, the movie. And they got a website, www.revelationthemovie.info. I highly recommend. It's going to be coming out here in April. I highly recommend you go watch it. It's going to be showing initially in Houston, and I'm not sure where else. But if you're in the Houston area, I suggest you go and see it because it's definitely worth going to see. Anyways, it's all about what's going on nowadays, and about martial law, about this the Satanism. This is taken from the Causes and Necessities for Taking Up Arms in 1775. Statutes have been passed extending the courts of admiralty and vice admiralty far beyond their ancient limits for depriving us of the accustomed and inestimable privilege of trial by jury in cases affecting both life and property, to supersede the course of common law and instead thereof to publish and order the use and exercise of the law martial. That's exactly what's going on, and it goes on. We saw the misery to which such despotism would reduce us. And that's exactly what's going on today, people. This is George III, chapter 12, in 1778. This is 2 years after the Declaration of Independence. The tyrant went and got this fictitious law passed. Whereas taxation by the Parliament of Great Britain for the purpose of raising a revenue in His Majesty's colonies, provinces, and plantations in North America has been found by experience to occasion great uneasiness and disorders, while no joke, Batman, that from and after the passing of this act, the King and Parliament of Great Britain will not impose any duty, tax, or assessment whatever payable in any of the colonies, provinces, or plantations in North America or West Indies, except only such duties that may be expedient to impose for the regulation of commerce. Well, these Satanists are at it again, and who cares what their fictitious color law statutes are saying? They intend to assault you. They're making war on you. It's all just another commercial transaction, people. The Satanic Vatican created the slave trade. They orchestrated the War of Independence. They orchestrated the War of 1812 to facilitate the disappearance of the true Article 13 Amendment because they wanted their satanic Jesuit bar members to infiltrate America and seize control of the government. Watch the bar member videos 1, 2, and 3. They orchestrated the Federal Reserve. They orchestrated World War I and World War II, and now they're in the process of orchestrating World War III. And they're going to get a bunch of American Satanists to go and help them with it. They orchestrated the Civil War in America to convert citizenship into the opposite of what the Founding Fathers intended. This is a case, United States versus Rhodes. The amendment reversed and annulled the original policy of the Constitution. And Colgate versus Harvey. And while the 14th Amendment does not create a national citizenship, it has the effect of making that citizenship paramount and dominant instead of derivative and dependent upon state citizenship. So they converted the citizenship in America into the opposite of what the Founding Fathers intended. All banks operate under authority of the Vatican. All interest is charged under authority of the Vatican. This is Deuteronomy 23:19-20. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury. The Templars redefined usury as rent under Vatican authority. This was like the year 1300 or something around there, 1200. That's why you have to provide evidence that you're a stranger, a social security number, before they'll give you one of their so-called loans. The Department of Homeland Security is a subsidiary of the Secret Service, and the Secret Service, by the way, is Knights of the Holy See, and it's actually under the Nazis, it was called the SS. See the United States as a Crown Colonies videos 1 and 2. There's a Secret Service in the United Kingdom. Why should that be a surprise? Because it's all the same company. The Knights of the Holy See was created by the Black Pope and Hitler in the Concordat of 1933. See this other video. The Secret Service is a subsidiary of the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department is owned by the International Monetary Fund. The International Monetary Fund is owned by the World Bank. The World Bank is owned by the UN. The UN is owned by the British Crown, and the British Crown is owned by the Vatican. The Crown in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and all Commonwealth countries are all owned by the Vatican. All fictions fall under Roman law. This is all coming from the Vatican. All crown-owned land is land that Vatican stole from the First Nations people. That's why the bail priests in the so-called courts have ruled that the crown has to settle the First Nations land claims. This is concessions to the Pope. This is where it all started. We will establish a perpetual obligation and concession. We will establish that from the proper and special revenues of our aforesaid kingdoms, and for all service and customs which we ought to render for them, saving in all things the penny of St. Peter, the Roman Church shall receive yearly 1,000 marks sterling, namely at the feast of St. Michael, 500 marks, and at Easter, 500 marks. And so, again, this is where they agreed to pay tribute. And after the concessions of England to the Pope in 1213 was signed, King John had to make money to pay his tribute. King John imposed martial law rule under the Vatican authority and started to do things to raise money to pay his tribute. It took only 2 years for the people to figure out what was happening, and the Magna Carta was the result. This is a Quebec court case. The Magna Carta is not a unilateral act emanating solely from the spontaneous will of the king. It's as the charters of the predecessors have gone. Neither is it a treaty, for we cannot say it was concluded between two legitimate and independent sovereignties, nor between two nations, nor is it a law. The barons do not appear in it as subjects, for they are freed from their promise of fidelity, and the king, brought captive, placed before them, submitted to the conditions which the conquerors imposed upon him. Magna Carta is therefore a contract, but resembles a treaty concluded between two nations in that one of the parties, in virtue of the law of war, can impose its will upon the other. And so, again, what they did essentially is they stuck a sword to his throat and they said, "Here, king, we want you to sign this." And that's what happened. The Magna Carta is similar to a treaty. British history is full of constant and continuous assaults by the crown on the freedoms of the British people. After the War of Independence, the Treaty of Paris was signed. These Satanists have no intention of abiding by their treaties. These Satanists are imposing perpetual warfare, and their so-called treaties mean absolutely nothing. These Satanists have taken over the courts and have converted them into ecclesiastical courts that are full of fraud and bail priest bar members so they can assault us with their adversarial judicial proceedings. See the bar members 1, 2, and 3 videos. Their Satanist ecclesiastical courts convert your rights into privileges with their filing fees and assault us with their satanic equity, where they treat everybody like one of their slaves. See all courts are ecclesiastical video. They convert your unlimited common law rights into finite statutory privileges. That's exactly what's going on. All court cases are commercial warfare. Under the international law of warfare, all parties to a cause must appear by nom de guerre, because an alien enemy cannot maintain an action during the war in his own name. A nom de guerre is a fictitious war name. A mixed war is one which is made on one side by public authority and on the other by mere private persons. That's Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. Look it up, people. A war is a giant commercial transaction. All commerce is warfare, and all warfare is commerce. That's exactly what's going on, people. Do you know who you are? Free people do not follow orders. Slaves follow orders. Free people make the orders. The book of Revelations is now, if Satan is to be bound, it's because there are Satanists everywhere. All fraud and lies are satanic. These satanic so-called courts are full of fraud. These satanic so-called courts have replaced the law of the land, which is God's law, with their satanic law merchants so they can get you into one of their satanic so-called contracts. All warfare is satanic. Is there anything more satanic than sending a bunch of people out to a field to kill each other? The more we do to you, the less you seem to believe we are doing it. The book of Revelations is now, most self-proclaimed Christians are actually Satanists. See the Churchianity videos. Most so-called Christian churches are actually satanic. The cross is their symbol. The cross is a Masonic Illuminati symbol where they're celebrating that this is how we murdered the Son of God. That's exactly what that is. They have 501c3 tax-exempt status. See the Churchianity videos. They cannot speak the truth, but are forced to speak half-truths and lies. That's satanic, people. Mark Passio, a former Satanist priest, says 2/3 of the Americans are practicing Satanists. He's got a YouTube channel. I think it's called What on Earth is Happening. He's got some great videos about natural law. He's very articulate. He had to learn Latin in high school. So he goes into the root, the derivative of a lot of words that are used, and explains it. And he's got got a great video about order takers, which is one of the pillars of Satanism. And there's order takers everywhere nowadays, people. All bank loans are a fraud. There's no bank loans. There's no federal debt. All foreclosures by banks are a fraud. They're satanic. U.S. Congress is bought and paid for by the banksters and the Vatican. The banksters, with their bought and paid for Obama and their bought and paid for U.S. Congress, are in the process of setting up a blood sacrifice to their satanic gods called World War III, and they will get the American Satanists to help them. You're the father of the devil, and the lusts of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he's a liar and the father of it. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews or Christians and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. But the fearful and unbelieving and abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Are you afraid of standing up to these Satanists? On the right-hand side of this page is the slide is Thomas Jefferson's seal, and it says, "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." And so then think about it. If you're fearful, I don't know if you're going to do too well on Judgment Day. If you're afraid of standing up against these Satanists, it's not going to look too well for you on Judgment Day. And that's why Thomas Jefferson's seal says that rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. So what can we do? We can work with our friends and neighbors to get the United States of the nations out of America and Canada and anywhere that wants to be free. United Nations is owned and operated by the Crown and their Vatican handlers. All of these ecclesiastical so-called courts are United Nations courts under Unidroit, and everything they do is a fraud. They are the definition of satanic. We can educate ourselves about common law and what a common law jury is and what the law of the land is. We can demand a common law jury of our peers, which is a trial by jury, not a trial with jury. Another thing to keep in mind is we have a right not to participate in their satanic religious ceremony. And I know people that have gotten cases dismissed based on that statement. So you are now a watchman. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity. But his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. You watching this video are now watchmen. There's a fool born every minute. Are you one of them? Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Don't forget to watch the other videos talked about to get a proper understanding of what is happening and how it is happening. Please circulate this and my other videos far and wide. You are now a watchman. Coming videos: asserting sovereignty, Cosby the judicial whore in Texas, Lowe the judicial whore in Texas, Williams the judicial whore in Texas, Fort Worth pigs, Kerrville pigs, Alberta sheriff pigs, federal versus national, and fake news. Copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants. I have videos of private information shares that show these and other court citations that are available for a donation. I also have another group with the same name at Google. Donations to support this work are appreciated. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept IOUs. Send me an email for particulars. Send me an email for copies of other documents. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. This is going to be a short one, people, so I'm trying to get them shorter. I appreciate the time. Appreciate you watching it. I hope you got something out of it. And you're now a watchman. And I hope you stand up and are honorably proceed on that. And other than that, have a real nice day.